I need you to end up taking more responsibility on your path in life. And your path in life is determined with how much money you make and the quality of your mind and body.
Welcome to the Bedros Keuilian Show.
All right, friends, let's talk about the biggest presidential election hoax ever played on humanity. Now, today is November 5th. It is election day, and we know that by the end of the day, maybe tomorrow, we are going to have a new president here in the United States. Now, don't be cynical. Don't be that guy or gal that says, I'm not going to go vote. My vote doesn't matter. When you think about where I come from, the Soviet Union, my family and I escaped in 1980 from Armenia. We had no rights to vote. We couldn't control who was going to be in power and who was going to lead the country. And in fact, even after communism has fallen, the reality is today in countries like Armenia, where I come from, there is no democracy where the public gets to vote who goes into office. So what we have here in the United States is something so unique and special. I would massively urge you to put your skepticism and cynicism aside and go and vote if you haven't yet. Now, with that in mind, I do have to say that, we can't avoid the idea of corruption. And listen, humans by nature, we are greedy and corrupt. It's just a reality of it. It's unfortunate. And what we need to do is to avoid the idea of letting our greed glands secrete. But that's a whole different podcast. That's a whole different story for another day. We are going to assume that this election is going to turn out legal beagle, meaning everything's going to go by the standards that we as society have set forth, and there's not going to be any election tampering and all that stuff. So with all that aside, we're going to find out in the next 24 hours or so who the president of this great country becomes. Now, we know that there's a great hoax. What is the hoax? The fact that whoever the president becomes, that they're going to have massive control on your life, on your economy, on your health, on your fitness, on your family's well-being, on your security. They're not. That is a great hoax. We've been told that if you choose this party or that party, your life will be better or worse. That is not the case. That is not. Now, let's make no mistakes about it. Whoever ends up going into office will massively determine the path of the country as a whole. However, whoever ends up in office will not determine the path of your life and your family's life. And that's the point of this episode. Remember, the Bedros Keuilian Show is all about money, meaning, and self-mastery. It is about being a sovereign human being. It is being a free thinker and being absolutely control of your life and your well-being. And if you think that the candidate that takes the seat in the White House is going to determine your personal income, your health, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, your family's health and security, you're wrong. You have a bigger determining factor on that than any one individual sitting in D.C. And so with that in mind, of course, I want this country to be on a path of prosperity, to become a superpower again. I want our country's budget to be balanced. I want to make sure that our borders are closed and people come in legally, just like I did into the United States. Those are all facts that we can agree on and check off. But again, I'm not talking so much about who is in office. I'm talking about who is in your office, because there's another president that you ought to consider, and that is the president of your family. And that is likely you. And if you are the president of your family, if you are the CEO, you are the decision maker. What decisions are you making on a day-to-day basis that is determining the quality of life for you and your family? And I share that because the two biggest decisions that you can make for yourself and your family are this: make more money and get healthy and jacked. I'm going to say that again. I want you to make more money and get healthy and jacked. And the reason is, whoever ends up in the White House in the next 24 hours or so, the other half of the country is going to hate this person. We know that. So if we know that 50% of the country is going to hate whoever's in the White House, then that 50% who is unhappy with who's in the White House is either going to have 4 years of misery, which I can't imagine why you would bestow that upon yourself and your family, or you're going to have to actively and proactively do something to ensure that you have a great life, even though your candidate didn't get into office, right? And the reality is, if your guy or gal went into the office, then what? Then what? I know a lot of people that are still going to have a miserable life. Even if their candidate is sitting in the Oval Office, they're still going to have a miserable life. Why is that? Well, because nothing really changed for you, did it? Yeah, maybe the borders closed, maybe new laws and regulations, maybe taxes are higher or lower, but in reality, nothing will change for you unless you start changing. And so whoever ends up in the office, you can't assume that you're going to have a great life or you're going to have a miserable life. Because if your candidate's in the office, you're still doomed to the life you have if you currently live the way you live. And the way you live is not making you any more money. The way you live is not making you any healthier and more fit and jacked. And therefore, you're not being a great example to your family, to your kids, to the people who count on you. The reason I stress this is because as president of my household, as president of my company, I have a lot of responsibility for the people in my life. And whether it's my kids, whether it's my team members, whether it's people that I financially support, these people are under my protection no matter who becomes president tomorrow. Their lifestyle should not change because I chose a different path because of who entered the White House. You understand that, right? I need you to end up taking more responsibility on your path in life. And your path in life is determined with how much money you make and the quality of your mind and body. Because if you have money, you have options. And if you have health and fitness, you will be able to exercise those options for a long time. There's a saying that goes, a man that has his health has 1,000 wishes. A man who does not have his health has but only one wish. And that is very true. Whoever ends up in the White House does not determine your health, physically or mentally, or financially, or relationally, or emotionally. Ultimately, it starts and stops with you. It starts and stops with you and me. So what can we do? Well, whether your guy or gal made it into office or not, we'll soon find out. But in the meantime, what can you do to change your state of life? Let's start with keeping the promises to yourself. The number one thing that has had a massive impact on my life is when I started keeping the promises that I make to myself. Understand that your reputation with yourself is the highest path to confidence. And we know, statistically speaking, that people who are higher in confidence have a better quality of life. They have more money. They're more fit. They have more meaningful relationships. So if you want high levels of confidence, first off, stop breaking promises to yourself. How often do you say that you're going to wake up and work out, but then you don't? You're going to wake up and eat right, and then you don't. You're going to wake up and start executing on that business idea, but you don't. You're going to wake up and do whatever it is, and then you don't. Every time you do that and you break a promise, you're eroding your reputation with yourself. And each time your reputation with yourself erodes, you begin to erode your confidence as well. And a man with low or no levels of confidence is a man who is stagnated, is a man who takes no action, is a man who ends up feeling defeated. Now, the last thing I would want you to do is to feel defeated and be stagnated, because you're fully capable. Do you understand that? You're fully capable. It ain't the candidate in the White House that's going to determine how much action you're going to take. They're not all of a sudden going to motivate you with a State of the Nation speech. They're not all of a sudden going to impress you because the borders are closed and you're going to feel like working and making more money. There's no one thing that the individual in the White House can do other than give you a dopamine hit for about 24 hours when you tell your friends and family, see, my guy won, or see, my guy didn't win, and therefore you're depressed for 24 hours, right? And this is what I'm saying, like, let's all go cast our votes. Let's all hope that we have the right person in office. But at the end of the day, if we don't, our country has overcome so much. And our country will continue to thrive if every individual thrives, no matter who's in the office. Because if we have more confident, competent, free-thinking, financially stable, mentally, emotionally, and physically fit people in our population, we become less dependent on the government. And I think there's no time than now, no matter who goes in the White House, than for you to start taking action. Don't wait for the new year. I know the new year's coming up, and so you're probably thinking, well, I'll just start taking action on my health and fitness and on my money in the new year. This year's shot anyway. Fuck that. I say fuck that. Today is when you start taking action, because if today is the day that the government either becomes favorable for you or becomes the enemy for you for the next 4 years, you might as well start doing something proactive. And if your candidate is going into office, that's only going to add more wind to your sails as you become more proactive in making money and getting jacked. And if your candidate is not the one in office, then all the more reason for you to start making more money and getting jacked. Either way, the answer is make money and get jacked. Hey guys, quick interruption to the show. Let me tell you all about the Trillian Wellness Shot. If you're like me and you care about your health, hydration, and building a strong immune system so you can stay active and you can get after it in life, then you want to try the Trillian Wellness Shot. I used to take 11 different supplements in the morning, things like vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin B12, echinacea, ginger, and a whole bunch more. Now it's all included in the Trillian Wellness Shot. I want to send you a 30-day supply for 50% off. Just go to Trillian.com, use the code word Bedros, my name, to get 50% off. You'll also get free shipping. You get a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee, and $1 of every order goes to Shriners Children's Hospital. And when you use the code word Bedros and do the subscribe and save, which is a Trillian Tribe program, every month you'll get a fresh supply of Trillian Wellness Shots for an additional 20% off and free shipping, and $1 of every monthly order will go to Shriners Children's Hospital. So go to Trillian.com, use code word Bedros, and take advantage of this amazing offer. Now back to the show. The reason I say that is because the moment you start producing money for your family and learning how to manage that money and getting out of debt and giving your family a better quality of life, better medical care, donating to your favorite church and charities, and putting your family in a safer community and having these awesome experiences by enjoying and traveling the world, the sooner you do that, the happier you become. The more purposeful you become, the more meaning and significance you have. And at the end of the day, isn't that what life is about, no matter who's in the White House? And if you become fit mentally, physically, and emotionally, you get lean, you start developing abs, you start developing muscles. You start developing a high level of security, self-esteem, self-worth, and confidence in yourself. Now you show up differently. You walk into a room and people are impressed without you opening up your mouth and saying a single word. Because a man who's lean, jacked, and athletic gives off this energy, this aura that is undeniable and unmatched. And the only way this happens is if you start today. And so what do we do? One, you start keeping the promises to yourself. Stop stacking losses. And that might mean hitting the snooze button in the morning. Stop hitting the snooze button. Your alarm goes off, get up, live your morning routine. If you don't have a morning routine, then just develop the easiest morning routine you can, which is write down 3 people whose names, like 3 names that you're grateful for every morning. Just text 3 people that you're grateful for, right? I'll typically write them down the night before on my notes on my iPhone. 3 people who I'm grateful for. In the morning, I'll text each of those individuals a gratitude text messages. I'll drink my 30 ounces of water because Sean Stevenson said so in his book, Sleep Smarter. And I believe him to be an amazing scientist and author and health advocate. And so why wouldn't I want to hydrate my body? And then I'll take my shower, go downstairs and work on my GSD list that I also made the night before. GSD list is get shit done list. I'm going to get shit done in terms of my work that I need to do in the morning, about an hour and a half or so, that moves my money and my meaning needle. Notice I said money first and then meaning. I'm going to get work done on the things that are going to make me more money. That might mean writing copy. That might mean sending out emails to people, business partners, team members, et cetera. That might mean sending out voice shots, et cetera, first thing in the morning to give people their marching orders. That might mean putting up a post that's going to generate more eyeballs, leads, and traffic so that my team can start making more sales. Money and meaning. And then by 9 a.m., I'm at my gym working out. And it doesn't matter what day it is, that's the routine. And if you have a morning routine that sets you up to have W's, you're going to now have a day full of W's. If your morning is W's, your day is W's. If your day is W's, your weeks are W's, then your months are W's and your years are W's. And it doesn't matter 4 years from now who's in the office, you're still winning. Now, are you going to have seasons of losses and seasons of, where things aren't favorable for you? Sure. We all do. That's the human condition. But once again, if you're winning in life, if you fortified your bank account, if you fortified your health and fitness, if you fortified your mind and your emotions, when the losing seasons come, you're going to be able to handle them better and get through them faster than if you're depressed and dumb and in debt and bloated and fat and floppy. And then the losing season comes. Then what happens? Now you end up prolonging a losing season. You end up just going down the spiral, this toilet bowl of self-defeat and victimhood, and you become an asset to nobody. You become a liability. And so I made a list, and the list is this: keep your promises, exercise daily, have a morning routine that sets you up to win, eat clean, and don't complicate things. People go, what does eat clean mean? Look, eat 4 meals a day, make sure they're high protein, low fat, and low carb. And if you can't figure out what your macros should be, and macros mean your fats, proteins, and carbs, do a YouTube search or go hire an online coach who can help you figure out your macros and get your macros dialed in so you can start getting leaner, more athletic, building muscle, and getting healthier. Then I want you to start avoiding distractions. Distractions show up in so many ways. Distractions show up in the way of social media, video games, television, election, right? How distracted and how much consumption of information have you done, even though you already knew who you were voting for, yet you've wasted hours and hours and hours not only consuming information on your candidate, but also consuming information on the opposition's candidate just to be able to shit on them with friends instead of spending all that time and energy in working on a business that makes you money or building your body and your mind that keeps you fortified, right? So you got to avoid those distractions. And then you got to give up the vices and addictions, man. Vices and addictions, the things that you take and smoke and drink and pornography and alcohol and weed, all those things that you use to escape the realities of life, you've got to give them up. I'm not saying slow them down. I'm saying give them up. Do the right thing and give them up. You know that you are using these things to escape your reality and to escape the feelings that make you feel like, well, you're not doing enough. And that's because you're not. Each time you feel like you're not doing enough, and that's your conscience speaking to you. Each time you feel like you're behind on something, that's your conscience talking to you. Each time you feel like a little depressed and anxious, that's your conscience talking to you. You've got to use that pain, that gnawing of those feelings of pain and dissatisfaction to do something positive towards building your body or building your bank account. Most of you end up trying to escape those feelings through alcohol, weed, pornography, gambling, social media, OnlyFans, whatever form of distraction or vice that you can get your hands or eyeballs on. And I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you with love in my heart that if you don't do these things, no matter who ends up in the White House, your candidate or not, you're still going to live a miserable life. And if you can avoid those vices, then I want you to start building and nurturing a community of like-minded people. I was working out with my homie Connor the other day. He works with us here at Trulian HQ. And we were working out, and Connor's like, man, I guess I shouldn't throw Connor under the bus, but what are the chances of these 5 girls listening to my podcast? But Connor is a good-looking dude, probably very much like you. And Connor is single, and Connor likes to run. And Connor's like, dude, I joined a running club, and I enjoy running. I'm like, well, how many people show up to these running clubs, man? He says about 150 to 200 people. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, man. And one day I got numbers from 5 different chicks. He goes, in fact, today after we work out, I've got a date. I'm like, bro, good for you. Like, if you don't have a community to belong to, and if you're like, man, I'm single, I don't know what to do, I just find myself with my pants around my ankles, the room's all dim, and I've got a porn site up, consider joining a running club. Consider joining a jiu-jitsu school. Consider going to a chess club. Maybe you're a nerd and that's okay. Go join a Dungeons and Dragons club. Surely those gotta exist, and those chicks gotta hang out with the dark makeup and the fucking gothic outfit that you might find attractive. But if you find yourself alone without community, what are you doing? You're not a lone wolf. Don't try and be a lone wolf. That's not how we are, man. We are humans, and we are supposed to be tribal. Like, there's biking clubs, jiu-jitsu clubs. Go to improv. Go to open mic. Go to a bookstore and sit around and don't put the earbuds in your ears. Actually try and make eye contact with people and say hello. And who knows, man? Maybe you might make some friends. You might find a honey. And I share that with you because if you are not doing any of these things, then you're probably struggling through life and hoping and using this election as a form of distraction that if your candidate does make it into the office, for a little while you're going to be hyped and excited and pumped. But then what? Then that excitement goes away. You still live your shit life because you keep breaking promises to yourself. You're not exercising. You're not eating clean. You're distracted through every vice and addiction you can think of. You haven't built a community of friends. You're alone, right? And if your candidate doesn't make it into the office, then you're going to use that as an excuse to shit on yourself for the next 4 years. Well, I'm going to have a shitty life because my candidate didn't make it into the office. But what if today, no matter who ends up in the White House, you end up being an active participant and the rebuilding of your life? Start making more money. And if you're like, well, how do I start making more money? Simple. There's got to be some value that you can add to humanity. Maybe there's a problem that you can solve. Maybe there's a product that you've been thinking about selling. Maybe, just maybe, you're not going to create a business yet through a product or a service, but you're going to start working for someone and actually start generating more money than you are now doing the work that you're doing. Maybe you're going to have to take on a side project, a side gig, right? Maybe that thing is going to be sales or marketing, learning how to buy traffic and buy ads, or writing sales copy. There's so many high income skills. The 3 big high income skills are learning how to sell and selling for other people, marketing, driving leads for other people that already have a product or service that can be sold, or copywriting, writing copy, website copy, email copy, social media copy. And you can do this and you can scale this business. Whether you have a product or a service, or you have these high income skills. And if you're like, I don't have the high income skills, learn them. You can go and get a course on any one of these things, on selling, on marketing, on copywriting. You can go learn from YouTube. Hell, you can learn from the plethora of podcast episodes that I've put out between the BK show and the Empire show, right? Over the last 6 years, I've put out a ton of content. There's a ton of great people who have put out content, but you've got to start committing to doing the work on your fitness, on your business, because the greatest hoax ever played on humanity where the presidential election is concerned is that the president at the White House has a lot more influence on your life than you think. He or she doesn't. Now, I'll tell you this, I've already voted, and I've voted for Trump. I hope Trump does get into office, but whether it ends up being Trump or Kamala, my life will continue to get better. I will continue to thrive. I may have to work even harder if it's Kamala. I may have to get even more clever with my marketing, with my sales, with the way I grow my companies. If I happen to get more restrictions because I'm a rich person and the left doesn't like rich people. And guess what? If Trump comes into office, then as a rich person, I get a bit of a tax break. And that allows me to start even more businesses. That allows me to pay even more money to my team members. And that allows me to market even better. So either way, my lifestyle and the lifestyle of the people who I'm responsible for are going to constantly improve no matter who goes in the White House. I hope you're willing to make that commitment to yourself as well, for yourself, for your family, the people that you're responsible for. And if you do, you'll find that whoever ends up becoming the president, you will have the greatest impact on your life, on your money, on your legacy. Guys, if you got a lot of value from this episode, I really hope that you would give me a like. If you're watching and listening to this on YouTube, a share, and of course, subscribe to this channel. And of course, if you're on the podcast platforms like Spotify and iTunes, it would mean a lot to me if you would leave a review, a 5-star review, so that we can spread this message to even more people. But above all, remember this, that average is the enemy, that success is your responsibility, and change can take place in an instant if you are willing to flip the switch. I'll see you next time.